Pokémon, the original series about catching and training up pocket monsters. And Yokai Watch, the most recent series about catching and training up pocket monsters. Although the pocket monsters aspect may be similar, these two series are completely different. So today we're going to be putting them up in a series war to see which series is truly on top. Let's get started. Round 1. Monsters. Now Yokai Watch undoubtedly has some great monsters to go along with the series, with the likes of Komasan, Jibanyan, Venoct, Kyubi, Meganyan, Master Nyata. There's really quite a lot of fantastic monsters here. But the problem that brings them down for me is that a lot of yokai look very, very similar to each other. Like look at Tanpo and Undi, Shadow Venoct and Normal Venoct, Dark Kyubi and Normal Kyubi. A lot of yokai look very similar, which honestly brings down the worth of these monsters for me quite a bit. So when it comes to Pokemon, not only is there a higher ratio of great Pokemon compared to Yokai Watch, but what Pokemon has that Yokai Watch doesn't is variety. Don't get me wrong, Yokai Watch still has a great variety of pocket monsters to collect, but the thing that makes Pokemon have more variety is the fact that no two Pokemon look alike. Even some that are based off others, like the Pikachu clones, are given different movesets, different designs, and so much stuff to stand out. Heck, they even have different abilities, some of them, which Yokai Watch doesn't have. Sure, they changed up the elemental typings and the ultimate moves, but they leave the designs pretty much the same except for a slight color change. And the fact that most of these color changes are, rare, makes them really, really much less valuable and much more lame as a result. So yeah, a lot of Yokai Watch's monsters look very similar, while in Pokemon, all of them are giving something different. Although both series have fantastic monsters to offer, Pokemon gets the point for overall just having much more variety in Pokemon compared to Yokai Watch, because a lot of Yokai Watch monsters look very similar, while in Pokemon, every single one is unique and easily distinguishable from each other. Round 2. Gameplay. When it comes to these two series, there's two different types of gameplay to account for: overworld exploration and the battle system. So we'll first start off with the battle system for each of these games. When it comes to Pokemon, the battle system is pretty straightforward on the surface. You choose a Pokemon, it has 4 moves to attack from, try to beat your opponent, simple stuff on the surface. Keyword, on the surface. If you truly want to master Pokemon, there's a lot of things you got to account for. EVs and IVs, spread out your moveset with different types of types, with different types of moves, which I didn't know when I was a kid. No, do not put your fire starter with all fire type moves. It's not going to work, trust me. And you have to find out which moves are actually good to use or not. Like if there's this really powerful move, but it only has like a 30% ratio to hit, I really wouldn't use it because it's not very likely to hit. So there's a lot of things to account for when playing Pokemon. When it comes to Yokai Watch's gameplay, it's much more simple than in Pokemon, because you basically just send out 3 monsters, and that's pretty much it for the most part. They automatically attack, which that alone loses a lot of interactivity from the player. Don't get me wrong, you still have to watch them and, give them items if you want to fill their ultimate or their health, something like that. But overall, there's a lot less interactivity than in Pokemon, which immediately is a huge setback. But another thing that Pokemon has that Yokai Watch doesn't is it's not very hard to master Yokai Watch, because there's no EVs or IVs to account for, and there's not really that much strategy that goes into the game as in Pokemon. So now we're going to talk about overworld exploration, and first I'll start off with Yokai Watch. Yokai Watch has some incredible overworld exploration. All the locations are really big, have lots to do in them. There's a lot of funny characters to talk to. There's a lot of places where you can catch yokai. There's truly a lot of diversity in the towns and places you visit too. And they all have a lot to do in them. So which makes a lot of interactivity in every single place that you see. Sure, Pokemon has this too, but nowhere near this degree. So yeah, exploring in Yokai Watch is very fun. And the run meter makes it so you want to strategize when you actually want to run at full speed and when you don't. I never knew that they could strategize something so well in the dang overworld, but hey, they did it. And I'm very happy about that. So yes, Yokai Watch has some pretty fantastic overworld exploration. Now when it comes to Pokemon's overworld exploration, that's where things kind of fall flat a little bit. I don't think Pokemon necessarily needed this, but it kind of stinks that there's no strategy in the overworld. Yes, I know there's some stupidly hard puzzles, but that's not what I really mean here. Yokai Watch had strategy in the overworld and didn't really need any of those puzzles. The strategy in the overworld really only relies on those obnoxious puzzles, which, like I said, are just more obnoxious than anything. And overall, all the towns are pretty uninteractive and are pretty linear, just there to be from one place to another after being a little break from going down a big route. So yeah, they're pretty non-interactive, definitely not as interactive as the towns and places you visit in Yokai Watch. And they're overall pretty linear, unlike Yokai Watch where you can get to anywhere in any location with lots of branching paths to go down, while Pokemon doesn't have that, especially the earlier titles, which makes sense, but still, they're still really linear in the newer games too, and still pretty interactive there. So Pokemon has the better battle system, and Yokai Watch has the better overworld exploration. So who gets the point here? Both of them. I think both the overworld exploration and battle system are equally as important, but you can give the point to whichever you want, depending on if you think the overworld exploration is more important or the battle system is more important. But in my opinion, I think they're equal, and that's why they both get a point here. Because Yokai Watch has a fantastic overworld exploration, but Pokemon has great battle system too. So both of them have advantages over each other in the gameplay category. Round 3, soundtrack. So for Pokemon soundtrack, oh boy, this is phenomenal. Pokemon has an incredible, just simply incredible soundtrack. And its soundtrack is being played over and over on my video game playlist, like heck, every day. It's so good. I have the full OST for every single Pokemon game. No, I didn't buy it on iTunes, but it's on my YouTube playlist. Why you spend money on iTunes, people, when you can just get it on YouTube for free? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, yeah, the Pokemon soundtrack clearly, it obviously fits the aesthetic of the wackiness and coolness that Pokemon provides. All the battle themes sound so bad that they're just awesome to listen to every single time and help you get pumped up for a battle. And the overworld exploration / towns and cities that you go to, for the most part, are pretty calm, like they should be. And the Team Rocket hideouts and the evil team places that you go to, they have some very upbeat stuff that you would expect to have from an evil team. Overall, the soundtrack is very fitting for Pokemon and have some very, very incredible tunes to it as well. When it comes to Yokai Watch's soundtrack, it's pretty much exactly what you would expect. A mix of weird and eerie, which, it fits the game very well since Yokai is a pretty eerie game, but it's also a very wacky game with lots of weird shenanigans going on, so it fits pretty well. But overall, although I do really like the soundtrack in Yokai Watch, the soundtrack in Pokemon is just way better. It has a lot of fantastic tunes, don't get me wrong, for both series, but overall, Pokemon has the more variety in music types, if that makes sense. Like upbeat, calm. Well, Yokai Watch pretty much stays to one. Don't get me wrong, there are some upbeat songs here and there and some calm ones, but overall I'd say there's much more variety in music in Pokemon and much more fantastic tunes in Pokemon than in Yokai Watch. So for the better soundtrack, it has to go to Pokemon. Pokemon overall has more fantastic tunes and more music variety than Yokai Watch does, and if you don't like the wacky or eerie aesthetic of Yokai Watch's music, then you're probably not going to like it that much. I personally really like it, but I overall think Pokemon just has much more fantastic music to it than Yokai Watch does. Round 4, Legacy. It's Pokemon. It's very obviously Pokemon for Legacy. Pokemon has been around much longer and has inspired much more franchises than Yokai Watch has. But to be fair, this isn't very surprising as Pokemon is much, much older than Yokai Watch is. Plus, Pokemon has had a much more bigger influence on Pocket Monster Future than Yokai Watch has. I actually think Yokai Watch might be inspired by Pokemon. I'm pretty sure about that, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, Pokemon has a much longer legacy than Yokai Watch ever did. Round 5. Anime. I'm sorry in advance that I'm not going to be able to show any footage of the anime because I got freaking copyright claimed by ShowPro. Thanks a lot. But I hope you can hear me out and still watch the video because this isn't my fault. This is actually a re-upload, by the way, because the original one had copyright claim by ShowPro because I showed 2 seconds of the anime. Anyway, I'm just glad that Nintendo finally made a good show for one of their franchises. And Pokemon is that. It's definitely a great show with some pretty funny moments in there, fantastic action scenes, and overall it's a very calm and relaxing show to watch if you have nothing else to do. So yeah, it's a very, very good show. Being a much bigger fan of comedies and a more humor-driven person, I really like the Yokai Watch anime, as it actually was really, really funny and actually made me laugh a lot of times. The funniness really comes from the wackiness and goofiness of the characters and their interactions with each other, which that is pretty faithful to the original games actually, since it's very, very goofy. But yeah, I really like the show because it's very goofy, and being a much more humor-driven person makes me like the Yokai Watch anime a lot. So who do I give the point to? Remember, this has nothing to do with how iconic the anime is, because that's pretty much exactly what Legacy was about. The Yokai Watch anime is great because of the really funny shenanigans that happen and of the interactions between all the wacky characters. And Pokemon is great for its mostly calm nature, but awesome battle sequences. So who do I give the point to here? I actually have to give the point to the Yokai Watch anime. It's really up to personal preference whether you prefer action or comedy. Although I really like both, I actually do prefer comedy over action because I love things that make me laugh, and the Yokai Watch anime actually does make me laugh. There's a lot of really funny, wacky shenanigans that happen. But like I said, this pretty much is down to personal preference. Though, in my opinion, I personally like comedy more, which is why I have to give the Yokai Watch anime the edge here. Round 6. Story. When it comes to Pokemon, all the stories are pretty similar. It's about a 10-year-old kid, at least I think they're 10 years old, go on a journey to become the very best Pokemon master of them all by getting a starter Pokemon, catching more along the way, training them up, defeating all 8 gyms, or in Sun and Moon's case, trials, and being the Elite Four and the champion, and becoming the very best like no one ever was. All pretty basic stuff here. The story does get a little more intense when the evil teams pop up into the equation, but overall, all the evil team stories are pretty much the same, with not really much background given as to why they're doing what they want to do. So yeah, I know Pokemon has never been, based or liked for its story, but the story is really still pretty weak. The story of Yokai Watch is even more wacky than you could possibly expect. It's about a kid named Nate Adams trying to find a really cool bug to show off to his friends with his bug net, which he showed it off to a girl, Katie, and she's constantly calling him average, which poor dude, honestly. So then he stumbled into a place called Mount Wildwood where he saw an old capsule machine, and for whatever reason he put a quarter in it when I started talking to him, which never do that, kids. And then out came a little ghost named Whisper. Actually, no, he's not really little. He's about the same size as the kid is, which I don't think that if that makes sense or not, but I don't know. Then he gives him a Yokai Watch and teaches him all about the mischievous yokai that are lurking around town. Then Nate has to go and stop them that are causing mischief everywhere. So, yep, pretty wacky stuff as you would expect. But the story actually does get really dark when the villains do come into equation. Like Dame Deadtime in Yokai Watch 2. If you looked up her backstory, you would be really surprised on how deep and dark it is. And for the villains, I can give them props that they at least have reasons for what they're doing. Yes, I get the evil teams in Pokemon had that, but there's nowhere near as much backstory as to why they're doing what they want to do instead compared to the villains in Yokai Watch. So when it comes to the story, Yokai Watch gets the edge. Yokai Watch definitely is the winner here, because it's much darker near the end with actual backstory as to why the villains are doing what they want to do, and the beginning story is much more wacky, which, like I said, is a lot of fun. And the story is actually different between all the games. So, you see, in the first game, yes, Nate gets the yokai watch in a really wacky way, like I said, but in the second game, he gets his memory erased, and sure, he does go through the same thing again, but there actually is backstory as to why he's forgetting about this. While in Pokemon, the story is pretty much identical to each other in every single game, which is why I have to give Yokai Watch the edge here. Round 7, Mascot. So once again, I'm sorry I can't use footage from the anime for this, but you know, like I said, Show Pro is, you know, an A, so yeah. So, again, I'm sorry, I just really hope you can understand me. So, for Pikachu, I'm not doing this by, so like I said earlier, I can't use footage from the anime because of Show Pro, you're an A, anyway. So, I'm not doing this by how iconic they are because that's what the legacy point was for. So, Pikachu. Pikachu is a very great mix of cool and cute. Very good mix. But the thing is, Pikachu doesn't really have much of a backstory. Well, Ash's does in the anime, but that's pretty much it. So it's basically just there. It's just there. It's not really have really much of a meaning. He's just kind of there without much backstory, like I said, except for Ash's in the anime. For Jibanyan, on the other hand, Jibanyan is also very cute and cool, but unlike Pikachu, he does have a backstory. And oh boy, is it a sad one. So Jibanyan actually started out as a normal cat, living normal life with his owner Amy. Until one day, Amy was about to get hit by a truck, and then Jibanyan, whose name was Rudy at the time when he was still a cat, jumped up and hit Amy out of the way of the truck. But then Jibanyan, or aka Rudy, ended up getting killed by the truck. And then when his spirit was released from the cat, or Rudy, when he became a yokai, he thought that Amy said that he was a lame cat. But he actually misunderstood her when he was able to go back in time thanks to Kin and Gin's doing. And he learned that she actually was really upset about him and she called herself lame and not Jibanyan, which made him really upset. But in the future, he actually gets to save Amy's daughter from getting hit by a truck, the same exact truck that almost hit him. That's pretty odd. So yeah, so Jibanyan does end up saving Amy's daughter, and then Amy and Jibanyan get to reunite, which is very sweet. So it's a very sad backstory with a very happy conclusion. So for Mascot, the point, by far, has to go to Jibanyan. It's no contest. Although both are very cute and very cool, Pikachu doesn't have much of any backstory except for Ash's in the anime. But even in the games, Jibanyan has a backstory. Of course, it's not as in-depth as it is in the Yokai Watch anime, but still, Jibanyan has backstories in both. And the backstory that he has is incredibly sad, but with an incredible payoff at the end. So I have to give the Mascot point to Jibanyan for having an incredible backstory. So that means that it's a tie. I honestly did not expect this. I was honestly expecting Pokemon to win by a fair amount, but I never realized how close these two are quality-wise in terms of like the anime, the mascot, the gameplay, a lot of stuff like that. I don't really feel like there's a reason to argue which franchise is better. Both of them by far excel each other in greatly different aspects. I think both of them are really, really fantastic. So I promise that not every episode of the Series War is going to be a tie. I honestly thought Pokemon was going to win this by a fair amount. But I'm actually very surprised with the outcome and to see how much Yokai Watch can hold a candle to the classic Pokemon series. So, what did you guys think of this video? Did you enjoy? Did you agree with the outcome? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you really enjoyed this video, then I recommend giving it a like and subscribing to my channel, because more episodes of Series War are going to be coming very soon. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.